Welcome to the BePure Podcast. In this episode, we take a deep dive into balancing wellness with a busy CEO, Andrew Laloli, the CEO of BePure. After starting his business at age 21, Andrew has been an entrepreneur ever since, growing and running his own businesses and investing in others for the last 19 years. It was his own personal journey with health that led him to attend one of Ben's speaking events mid-2014, where he felt inspired by the message that our food and lifestyle choices profoundly impact our overall quality of life. Andrew invested in BePure in December 2014, at which time he undertook a project to reinvent and rebrand the business. This led to the relaunch of BePure in July 2015, when Andrew took on the title of CEO. Since then, the company has experienced significant growth and success with the launch of the BePure Clinic, Eve Wellness, and a whole range of BePure supplements that have supported hundreds of thousands of people in New Zealand and across the globe. Andrew is very driven to help his team to change the way the world looks at health and be leaders in the wellness space. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Lisa. Such a nice intro. Thank you very much.
Absolutely all yours. That's all your hard work right there. What an amazing bio. You've done so many things in your time.
You know, we live in our life day in and day out, so it all happens so slowly. So it's, I suppose this is a good opportunity to zoom out and do a bit of reflection.
Yeah, definitely a memoir, I think, in time. You know, I think of your journey, 19 years of working in business to now work in the wellness space. I think the best thing for us to do is to kick off with asking, how did you get into this space and what's that journey been like?
If you'd said to me 19 years ago that I was going to be the CEO of a health and wellness business, I would have found that quite humorous. But the sort of twists and turns of life can lead you in sort of some wonderful directions, and certainly led me in an incredibly wonderful direction that I'm incredibly grateful for. And it's been a very exciting journey, and which really interestingly started when I was sort of 16 years old when I first met Ben Warren. It was sort of in a different life, I suppose. Both of us grew up playing competitive golf. And Ben had just moved to New Zealand with his girlfriend at the time, now wife Linda, who was a New Zealander, and Ben was from the UK, and they met in the US while studying over there. And Ben describes it as that he's a souvenir from Linda Zoe. He's sort of told that joke a few times. I always have to remember to cue laughter after he tells that one, because I think I've heard that it's probably a few hundred times now. When Ben moved to New Zealand, he started working at the golf club that I was a junior member at, and I was 16 years old and Ben was 25. So, you know, when you're 16 and you're sort of very much looking up at a 25-year-old that played golf internationally and all that sort of thing. So definitely in those early days, Ben was a bit of a mentor to me. His time in Auckland, the Titirangi Golf Club where I was a junior member, pretty short-lived. I think it was actually less than 12 months. But because when you're 16, a year is sort of quite a lot. And so I spent quite a lot of time hanging out with Ben and playing golf. And so we built a bit of a rapport through our common passion for the game of golf. And then he left Auckland and moved down to live in the Hawke's Bay, where he still lives today. And I stayed in Auckland, sort of from a, I suppose, geographical location, and then over time sort of went in quite different directions. And Ben continued as a professional golf coach, and I started in business in my very, very early 20s by investing in property and then setting up a maintenance company. And so Ben and I sort of went in quite different paths, I suppose, and we'd crossed paths from time to time, and we kind of kept in touch. And then back in 2009, when Ben developed and launched BePure One, I was one of his first customers. So I've been taking BePure One for 13 years. But as you touched on, it wasn't until I went to Ben's seminar in sort of mid-2014 that I kind of got that aha moment that so many people have got through listening to Ben talk, especially that first time where you're sort of hearing just all of these truth bombs that sort of, you're like, wow, this was hiding in plain sight, absolutely hiding in plain sight. And it's something that really inspired me to make sort of changes in my own life. But then also being sort of having an entrepreneurial sort of mindset, I'm like, God, everyone needs to know this. This is such powerful information that feels like it's unfortunately not common knowledge. That kind of led to further conversations with Ben, and by the end of 2014, I found myself investing in his business and then driving the rebrand and the relaunch, and then coming on as CEO in sort of early 2015, and still in the role today.
That's a huge journey. Like what I hear is golf comrade, first BePure customer. And then I went into a seminar, heard this penny drop moment, went, whoa, I have to share this with the world. Let me blow that up and make that into this incredible business and just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. And I think there are a lot of great people in the world with a lot of great messages, but from my experience working with health practitioners, it takes someone like you to care an awful lot to make that something that can actually come to life and actually benefit people. Most prackies are like, spreadsheets, what, business, huh? I'm not really too au fait with that stuff. I know how to help humans, but actually making that work on paper and bring that to life and be able to share that, that's a whole other game. And without someone like you, we wouldn't have what we do and this business wouldn't be a thing. So thank you so much for all that you've done, for that aha moment that you had way back when.
Look, I really appreciate that. It's weird from my perspective. Everything just seemed like a natural next step. Just tried to be useful, and then here we are today.
Massively useful. And I think inspiring as well, because like wellness was, let's face it, not that cool in 2014. It was a little bit underground, a little bit sort of, let's not talk about that and hide that over in the woo-woo box. So, I mean, I know it's still a space now where women are more interested than men. So I'm really interested to hear from you what your experience has been like and what the challenges have been for you along the way as a guy in wellness.
Yeah, that's such a good question, and it kind of makes me smile and laugh, because I think about, our BePure customer base is sort of 94% female, so it is still heavily female dominated, and it's something, the health and wellness space has become something that's cool and trendy for especially women to be in, but definitely back in 2014, it really wasn't cool for a guy to be sort of showing interest in their health. We have some old school thinking around male health, and it's harden up and all of those sorts of things that we've heard so many times. If there's something wrong, you just sort of in our psyche to bottle it up and keep it to ourselves. So moving into the health and wellness space in sort of 2014 did raise a few eyebrows from a few of my mates. And coming from a property background and business background, the reactions were quite interesting and quite vast, from anger. Like one of my mates was actually angry that I was doing this, because I'd been in property for 10 years and he thought that I should just stick to that, and that I was, in his opinion, was pretty good at doing that. And then one of my mates basically said, what the F are you doing, you hippie? And I can remember those so clearly, and it does make me laugh now, because both of those people have bought products from us, and the vast majority of my friends either buy products or have done some form of a clinic program. So it's really been really interesting as health and wellness has progressed more and more into the mainstream, just seeing the reaction of the people around me, but then also obviously the wider population. It was the movement of health and wellness was sort of just very much in its infancy in sort of 2014, thanks to sort of people like Dr. Libby, I suppose, and the work Ben was doing. And I remember sort of Julia and Libby Matthews was sort of a big part of that early stage in New Zealand.
The Raw Sisters, yeah, totally. I think it's been a big boom. I mean, I've been in this industry since I was 18, so we're talking 15 years ago now, and health was not cool when I was really young, and I think it was still not cool when I joined BePure in 2017, and I think there's been some revolutions that have gone a long time, so definitely very grateful for the change, and for BePure being, I guess, the change that we wanted to see in the world and seeing that come to fruition, so very cool stuff, particularly for a guy,
Yeah, you're really right. It has been in the last sort of 3 to 4 years, and then obviously COVID gave it a real sort of booster. But even before COVID, it was really, really gaining momentum. It's been interesting watching it move into the mainstream.
Massively, and the right direction to take. So I'm curious, right? You work for a wellness company, but you were still a CEO, and let's face it, CEO lives are busy. How do you find it difficult to balance well-being, hectic schedule?
Yeah, 100%. I openly sort of struggle with balance. I think all of us do have that challenge, and probably we have that challenge more often than we'd like to admit, or which is socially acceptable to admit. Everyone's biggest challenge is their biggest challenge. And, running this business for the last 8 years and having hundreds of thousands of people in our community and having close interactions with our community and our staff, the working mother is the one that I have the deepest amount of empathy for. So for me, it's our business is incredibly mission driven, and I'm incredibly passionate about that mission. So our mission at BePure is to transform lives. That's sort of what I refer to as our lighthouse for decision making. The thing that motivates me incredibly, having that strong passion and a big vision of what that could look like in the future, does from time to time mean that I can kind of lose myself in that, and that my boundaries get blurred. So that's something that I work on a weekly basis, is to try and maintain those boundaries and make sure that I'm putting on my own oxygen mask first before I sort of go out into the world and start trying to solve other people's problems, whether that be in a work sense or with family, friends, etc.
100%. I think it's hard when you're in this space and you can see possibility, not to want to be an ideas magpie and grab a hold of everything and run with it, but also you can see an opportunity to help everybody you talk to. So you almost end up, I would guess for you as a CEO, putting on a clinician hat, even though you sit in the CEO title with your family and your friends. And I think one of the things I've really learned from working within our clinic with CEOs and business minds like yours is you're often juggling so much. Like, mad respect for anyone who sits in a senior leadership position or runs a business. There are so many balls that I think as an employee, you just don't get to see that you guys are holding, and it's like a circus going on, if I want to put it in a high analogy. But I can imagine for you finding balance, that would probably require you to have some non-negotiables or more of like a routine in your life. Is that true?
There's sort of a kind of a handful of things, but some of the biggest things I suppose I'm kind of working on at the moment is radical acceptance of what is. The temptation for me and sort of a lot of people is to kind of resist what is and try and control outcomes and things like that. So yeah, one of the things I'm sort of really working on at the moment is radical acceptance and then what can I do about it, so and I find that incredibly empowering. So that's sort of something that I'm really focused on at the moment. But as far as sort of baseline non-negotiables, it's kind of meditation and journaling, and journaling is something I've sort of done over the last couple of years, and it was something that Beatrice, my fiance, who runs our Eve business, she introduced me to, and I found it an incredibly powerful way to unlock what's inside me already. And so getting a pen and paper and asking myself some questions. How am I feeling? Like whatever the question is, and then the pen just sort of hits the paper and starts moving itself, and then you're sort of scribbling frantically, and all these sort of thoughts are sort of coming out, and it just really helps me get self-awareness and clarity. And then meditation is something that I find incredibly useful for improving my sort of mindfulness and self-awareness, I suppose. So that those two I find reasonably easy to kind of integrate into my kind of lifestyle. Movements, probably the next one. This probably comes a little bit less naturally to me, in the sense that, which is weird because I grew up playing competitive golf and was sponsored by a gym and had a personal trainer for, lived in a gym when I was sort of a teenager. But it's more of a time and energy thing these days. When if I let those boundaries slip, the energy to do movement can kind of slip too. Then probably the third one is good food and supplements. So eating really quality food is kind of something that's really, I find, is really, really important. And then, taking my supplements, my kind of baseline supplements, which are BePure 1, 2, 3, zinc, mag, and Vit D.
Beautiful. You've got like BePure foundations right there in your toolkit, you know?
One of the most important ones is your community. So spending time with family and friends and not taking yourself or your life too seriously. And it's, again, when you're really passionate and mission focused on what you're doing and have big goals, it's easy to sort of get sucked into taking life seriously. So it's really, really important to keep sort of grounding yourself and spending time with family and friends and not taking yourself too seriously as well.
100%. I think it's sort of, for me, when I do that, I always reflect back on it being sort of almost like a bit of a meditative practice or a chance to be in the present moment, hanging out with friends and family. It's so nurturing and so nourishing for our system, but it reminds us that being present and being with people in that moment is so helpful for us as humans and so uplifting for our nervous system as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So I think one thing that really comes to mind for me when I talk to people that are, I guess, busy, achieving things, and they're inspired and they're passionate, they love their jobs. One of the biggest challenges is often mental health. And I think post-COVID, we're seeing a lot of mental health challenges come through in our customers and in our clients through our clinic. I know it's something you're really incredibly passionate about, is mental well-being. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your journey?
Yeah. Well, it's when I sort of think about mental health, I think about it on a spectrum, and we're all, as humans, we're all on the mental health spectrum.
Amen.
And we slide up and down it, on a, sometimes daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And going back to those boundaries that I sort of spoke about earlier, and having our non-negotiables. It's when we allow those boundary walls to sort of crush in through, our families, our job, and all that sort of thing. You can find yourself sort of slipping down that spectrum into sort of more challenging mental health sort of situations. But yeah, I think as you sort of touched on, mental health is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and I think mental health is moving into the mainstream more and more, which is absolutely fantastic. There's still a lot of shame and taboo around it, which is just going to take time to unpick. Building your tool belt, your mental health tool belt, is sort of incredibly important. I think everyone should try and do some talk therapy. I think everyone should do it, so that we're getting tools that we're not really taught how to regulate our emotions at school, and not too many people's parents taught them how to regulate their emotions. I don't know about you, but mine definitely didn't. And so I think talk therapy is incredibly important to do it to do for a period of time. I started doing it probably about 5 years ago, I think. I haven't done talk therapy. Well, I did some at the end of last year, actually, when my father passed away. But I've sort of, I feel like I've got the tools in my tool belt now that I sort of feel like when I start sort of slipping down that spectrum, I can kind of largely catch myself out.
And that's the beauty of doing that mental health growth work as well. Like it gives you more tools that you can utilize in future, because life goes through bumps, it's never a clean sail where you're like, yeah, I've been through that hard patch of losing someone I really love dearly or going through a difficult, challenging time. They just keep cropping up for us in life to create more growth. And the more tools you have, the faster the growth period and the more you learn as you come out the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, I know from my own health journey that mental health has been it's a big part of my journey myself. And I'm so thankful to have gone through that at such a young age, because it gave me tools that I don't think I would have acquired so rapidly if I hadn't have had that experience. And it just sets you up for enjoying so much more when you can really get yourself into a position where you go, I'm kind of actually in charge here. I have the power to shift how I'm feeling and how I'm thinking. It's all optional. it gives you this ability to experience almost everything in life in stages, of course, with joy and with an absolute presence. And I think it's a gift that we should all have, and it's a skill that I'd love to see taught in schools for kids because it's so powerful.
100%. Like, I mean, it's been really interesting going through that journey for myself over the last sort of 5 years. And one of the things I try and observe the most is, and these are not technical terms, these are my own that I've sort of made up. As you know, I'm sort of good at making up my own stuff.
I have a book of Andrew idioms that I'm collecting, guys. We might have to put them into a podcast for you.
Yeah, one of the things I try and observe is like the buying and selling of fear and shame within human interaction. So like we all feel fear, on a different levels, or shame literally on a daily basis. And it's, you might have an important meeting you're going to, you might be running late for something, you don't know how to deal with a conflict situation, and these all sort of generate a bit of a fear response. And when somebody's comes into a situation with high levels of fear, we can, or we go into a situation with high levels of fear or shame, that either consciously or subconsciously can kind of be bought and sold. I sort of watch myself going into these situations and make sure I'm not dragging somebody down, and then also trying to be aware of when I'm being dragged down as well, which I find really interesting. And through talk therapy, one of the really interesting things that I learnt was around the drama triangle, how we sort of come into a situation. So we're either a rescuer, a persecutor, or a victim. And it's really, I found this incredibly interesting where as you come into that as a victim, you're kind of giving your power away. You're kind of disempowering yourself. But if you come into the drama triangle as a rescuer, you're disempowering the person that you're trying to rescue. And then the persecutor, anytime you say, oh, it's your fault, again, you're disempowering yourself. You're putting the power into somebody else's hands. So I find that an incredibly interesting sort of mental framework to kind of think through to ensure that within sort of human interaction that I'm not sort of disempowering myself, or to that point disempowering somebody else. And because self-empowerment is just so incredibly crucial to maintaining sort of a healthy balance and mental state, in my opinion.
100%. I think we can get out of those three mentalities of it's my fault, it's your fault, and I need to fix everything. You create a space for people to have really good conversations, and you get so much more out of them. It's kind of like when we're coaching our clinic clients. If something hasn't worked for them, it's really disempowering for me to say, well, no, that works for everybody. You're just doing it wrong. For me to go back to them and say, that's cool, I hear you, maybe not the right solution for you. What else do you think we could do? And put them in the driver's chair. I think these are the options we can play with. Do either of those really work for you and resonate with you? And they go, yeah. It's handing them back that power seat so that they can go, actually, I'm part of this journey. I matter. I'm important. I'm loved, and I am enough. I think that's where we move into a place of really bringing our true selves to the table. And I think when you wash away how we protect ourselves from that place of fear and shame, you see the goodness in people. You're like, oh my gosh, all humans are amazing. We just have these coping mechanisms that can encourage us to show up in ways that we perceive as being bad or good. But in all honesty, most of us have the best intentions at heart. We just haven't been taught the skills to be able to move through the emotion and then arrive at the party with that and go, look, I'm honestly actually really petrified, guys. Can we find a solution and move forward together? And I trust you that we're going to do this as a team.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. And it's so interesting when I talk to you about how you consult with clients, and I listen to the clinical team. There's so many sort of correlations between that and running a company and managing people. I'm a recovering fixer myself, and where a problem arises and I'm like, I'm in there, I'm sort of trying to fix it. Whereas it's so much more powerful to keep people empowered, as you touched on, from a consulting standpoint. It's so much more powerful when somebody comes to the conclusion on their own. They feel empowered, and they're creating that self momentum rather than that rescuer fixer which sort of, just creates a disempowered dynamic.
I will happily put my hands up for the Fixers Anonymous Club. Amen to that one. Totally me.
Yeah, I'm still a member. I'm still paying my annual subs.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. So, I mean, on that sort of line, you're really big on empowering others. That's what you do for our entire team at work every single day, whether you see that or not. And that comes through in a number of ways. But one of the ways that you do this for us is you have helped us to build a number of wellness initiatives within our building and for our team. Do you want to talk to me about how you empower our staff's health and well-being at BePure?
The two biggest things that motivate me with running this company are, one, to create a platform for our staff to fulfill on their potential. And there's nothing, as you know, there's nothing that sort of lights me up more than seeing somebody just grow as a person and really level up. And there's just so many examples of that through the last sort of 7 or 8 years of running the BePure business, of amazing people that have come in a customer service role and now they're sort of managing better part of 10 people, or like your role, Lisa, where you came in 6 years ago as a clinical consultant and now you're sort of have progressed so far through the business and now a leader in so many ways across the business. And so that's a huge motivator for me, is I like to create platforms for people to sort of express their abilities and talents. And so often these people don't even know that they're able to achieve the things that they end up achieving, which is always the fun part. The other thing that really motivates me is for our company to fulfill on its potential. Some of the wellbeing initiatives that we've at BePure, which is a wellness business, but one of the things we do is we have a daily meditation. It's obviously not compulsory, but people that want to can sort of stop and we do 10-minute meditation in our kind of living room area at our sort of head office and clinic in Auckland. I find that a sort of really powerful time of the day to sort of stop and have a meditation. Like your energy, sometimes is starting to dip daily meditations, clinical programs. So this is something that we've done ever since we started the clinic in 2015. We've really wanted to bring our team on their own health journey, and as it's such a big part of obviously our mission to transform people's lives, it's important for us that our staff have the opportunity to sort of experience the best that our clinic has to offer and sort of go on that sort of personal transformational journey as well, so that they're aware and can see what's possible. And then everyone in the company gets free subscription either through our Eve Friends with Benefits or our BePure Be Well Club, which has been something that's been really, really powerful and well received by the team. And then, Lisa, you do some amazing monthly talks for the team.
Thank you.
So once a month, those talks have been incredibly well received, and it's so inspiring and empowering to sort of share that knowledge with the wider company and again just sort of ensuring that we're all in alignment, heading in the same direction and able to go on the journey ourselves, so that we're able to provide the maximum and best benefit to our customers.
It's so incredible. I mean, it amazes me. Like, I think people join our company in such different states. I can imagine moving into BePure as part of the finance team or maybe as part of the dev team. You're like, well, I'm joining a health company. This seems cool, but what am I actually getting myself into? So to be given that opportunity to really experience it and live it, like it's not just we're a health company, we make some healthy stuff. It's actually seeping through the walls. Like we actually, through and through, it's everything that we do, and it's just so authentic. So thank you so much for providing our team with that space and that opportunity as well to learn and grow on their own journeys, because it's so powerful. Like whenever someone leaves our company, I always reflect back on where they started with their health, when they first started here and where they are now in terms of what they've learned, or they might have gone from that I have a coffee in the morning to I have a green smoothie in the morning, or they've joined in with the healthy food kombucha kind of vibes. So it depends on who they are, but I always find there's some sort of personal transformation that you can see as they part, like a gift that goes with them.
Yeah, 100%. Our staff's journey is actually no different to a clinic client's journey, in the sense that everyone has different ambitions, everyone's starting at a different level, and as you touched on, somebody comes in that's maybe hasn't naturally got a passion for health and wellness, but through our clinic service and through our products, people and online education, we can meet people where they are, and it's all relative to the individual's journey.
It's like that mental health spectrum you talked about before, right? It's that whole health spectrum. Where are you and where do you want to be and what can we offer you in that spectrum?
100%. Yeah. That's, I think, the only way to look at it.
And that's a really nice note to sign off on, in terms of you yourself, it's your own journey. There's no rights, there's no wrongs. It's just where you're at the moment and what you need to go forward with. So based on your experience and your, I guess, journey on that spectrum, what are the 3 actionable things that you would leave our listeners with today that they could start implementing to help with their well-being if they're kind of like you and they have a busy jam-packed schedule?
Yeah, I think the whole setting your non-negotiables is I think really important, and giving yourself permission to set boundaries and try and maintain them, and that's obviously going to be an ongoing challenge, because as you introduce the people around you to these new boundaries, you're going to get mixed responses. As part of those non-negotiables, you got to look at your diet and lifestyle as a part of that, and your mental health. So just having a solid baseline, everything within your own foundations is solid before you can go out into the world and start trying to help other people solve their challenges, whether that be in a work sense, if you're a plumber or an accountant or whatever. In our jobs on a day-to-day basis, we're paid to solve challenges for other people, and so before we can go out into the world and start solving challenges from a work sense or a family sense, it's just so important to have our own foundations well set and maintained.
Totally. So having a full battery to be able to do the things you need to do to help others, rather than running from a battery of empty where you've given away all your energy.
Yeah.
100% agree. Well, it has been such a nourishing conversation to have with you. I actually have learnt some things myself that I didn't know about you. So I'm going to hold those to myself. I might tell you later on. But thank you so much for joining us today, Andrew. It has been such a pleasure, and have a lovely afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lisa. It was great fun having a chat, and look forward to doing it again in the future sometime.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Cool.